calls me googly eyes.
And you know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation of supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
Thursday, April 28th, and it's the Bill Press Show. Hello, everybody. Great to see you today. Thank you for joining us. Here we go. Wrapping up the day's news. Well, not wrapping up. You do that at the end of the day. We kick off the day's news all around the world, wherever it's going on, whatever's happening here in Washington, D.C., around the country, around the globe. We got it. We got it. We'll bring you the news of the day and give you a chance to sound off about it. Remember, 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number, and you can send us also your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Donald Trump giving his much heralded speech at the Mayflower Hotel yesterday, his big foreign policy speech. He actually read it from a teleprompter, but he just proved that even if you read it from a teleprompter, Donald Trump has nothing to say. He basically repeated all the one-liners that he gives in his campaign speeches about foreign policy and said, you know, we're going to make America great again, which, of course, means absolutely nothing. Ted Cruz, meanwhile, trying to steal the spotlight from Donald Trump, named Cruz-Fiorina as his running mate if he could ever get the nomination, which, of course, he is not going to get. So that was a whole meaningless ceremony out in Indiana with Cruz-Fiorina. In other campaign news, Bernie Sanders recognizing reality. He's going to continue to run through the primaries, but he did start laying staff off yesterday, knowing that he won't need as big an operation, sadly. In other news, former Speaker Dennis Hastert sentenced to 15 months by a judge for his irregularities. And here in Washington, D.C., everybody gearing up for the big White House Correspondents' Dinner this Saturday night. Bernie Sanders and his wife Jane will be there as guests of CBS News. Lots to talk about. Give us a call, 866-55-PRESS. It's the Bill Press Show. Good to have you with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay.
So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
He shut down the government. She shut down Hewlett-Packard. Perfect pair. What do you say, folks? Here we are. It is the Bill Press Show. On this Thursday, can you believe it? Thursday, April 28th. Whatever happened to April, man?
Right?
Boom. Gone. And it was a good one, though, at any rate. April 28th. And we are here with you from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. You'll find us right on Capitol Hill, just down the street from the United States Capitol building, with our entire team here, plus this morning, actually, and bringing you all the news of the day from Washington, from around the country, from around the globe. And that's the way it works for the next 3 hours, our conversation, our town hall, where nationwide, coast to coast, we have a little conversation about what's going on. We'll tell you what's happening, and you tell us what you think about it, what it all means to you and your family and your community. You know how to do so. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. So this is a very special day. This is Take Your Prodigy to Work Day.
Take your child to work day. Yes, indeed.
Take your child to work day. Yes, indeed. And there they are. Peter,
here we go, right here.
Hey, guys.
The honors here.
Hey, guys. Gray Ogburn is here.
Whoa. What are they eating?
They got donuts. We got Dunkin' Donuts.
Hello.
Okay.
So Gray Ogburn and Magnus Ogburn are here for the day. They woke up very early
I'm telling
to
you.
be here.
Whoa.
This is the one time a year that we say it's okay for them to get up this early. Every other day we tell them to sleep in.
Yeah, right.
Hey, guys.
Right. So did you go to bed at all, or did you just, Magnus, did you just stay up?
Barely.
Barely?
Barely.
Right.
They're not used to this.
Okay. What are you going to do after the show?
I'm going to go to sleep.
Oh.
Just like us.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like us, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get you back in a little bit later too, and you can tell us all that we're up to. They're in training to take over for Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Only a matter of time.
Yeah, we might just be gone in the third hour.
Sooner the better.
Doing our jobs. Yeah, exactly.
They can also help Ray Rogers on the phones, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
Good. So you never know who you're gonna get when you call in this morning. 866-55-PRESS and Cyprian Bolding here as our videographer. And why didn't the rest of you bring your kids in?
Well,
all right.
Maybe next year, Jamie.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to wish. Maybe next year.
Right. And our two sons are on the West Coast, so that's too far to come for today. And JJ, I left home.
Good. Okay. Perfect.
He would have livened up the show, I got to tell you.
I believe that.
Yes, indeed. So, Indiana, who do you want in Indiana when you're campaigning in Indiana? Of course, you want the great Bobby Knight. But, when you get these surrogates, you never know what's going to happen. So Donald Trump, of course, has the infamous basketball coach, former Bobby Knight, the guy who throws chairs and throws people and players and everything else. introduced him yesterday. There are a lot of military in the crowd, former military in the crowd, and so Bobby Knight, who of course coached at the
Indiana
military before he
right
at West Point. That's what
Yeah.
I was trying to think of before he went to Indiana. He had a little fun with the Navy people in the crowd.
All Navy people, raise your hands. And I want you to know that I spent 8 years teaching soldiers at the United States Military Academy, and we played Navy 8 straight years, folks, and we beat your ass every time we played you.
Some things never die.
Never change, Bobby Knight.
No,
Never change.
Never change.
All right. Hey, lots going on. Did you hear the big news? Yes, Ted Cruz, path to victory with a new running mate, and Donald Trump, he's going to keep America great or make it great again. Which is it? I don't know. Big foreign policy speech yesterday. We'll get into that with our good friend Susan Paige from USA Today. Plus, we'll jump out to Indiana with our good friend Gary Snyder from Indiana Talks, 8:10 a.m., and get a real look at what's happening in that Indiana primary. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. Do you watch Saturday Night Live on TV?
Nope.
Not a lot of people do, as a matter of fact. That's a big problem that Saturday Night Live say that they have. They say that people watch the show, but they usually watch it the next day, or they watch it online, right? Not a lot of people watch it live.
How many people watch?
Right. I get it. But Saturday Night Live,
do appointment TV
I know.
anymore.
You're absolutely right. But Saturday Night Live is actually going to try and combat this. They want to try and get more people to watch it live. And what they're doing is they are cutting commercials out of the show. They're going to be cutting 2 commercial breaks out of every show that they do now to try and convince people to come back to the show. Now, one of the big issues that people had is when you're up that late and they have so many commercials crammed into it, it's hard to stay awake during the commercials. So they're getting rid of 30% of their commercial breaks next season in an effort to try and get people to come back to watch it live.
Well, it's a good plan if it works, but that means I'll have to charge more for the commercials.
Exactly.
Yeah, who foots the bill on that?
That's the issue.
Right.
Yeah, that's the issue. Big night in the NBA last night. Couple of games. The Hornets beat the Heat. They take a series lead 3-2. Also, the Trailblazers beat the hobbling Clippers 108-98. They are now up in that series 3-2. And the Warriors had to take on the Rockets without Steph Curry, but that was not a problem. They beat the Rockets 114-81. It was not close. Complete blowout. They have now won that series 4-1. Rockets have been eliminated.
They get to go fishing.
That's right. They
They've
get
been
to go and
looking
have a
forward to
nice offseason now. They don't have to worry about playing the best team in basketball. And, Bill, next time you go to the White House, you might see that the fence is a little bit higher. The Secret Service has unveiled a plan to raise the height of the White House security fence by 5 feet. They're also going to be adding a new concrete foundation to try and reduce the risk of fence jumpers. So next time, it's going to take a little while. They say it's going to be all finished and set by 2018. But this is the plan. They're trying to keep people from jumping over the White House fence.
You know, this used to happen like once every 5 years.
Yeah.
Now it happens like 5 times a year.
Yeah.
And you know, because I go there all the time, and they had the fence. Then after the first fence, the guy that got made all the way in, then they put a fence like in front of the fence.
Right.
Now they have a fence in front of the fence in front of the fence.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And they hop over, boop. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I will say this. If you really wanted to jump over the White House fence, you could do it. I mean, it is not that tall.
I couldn't.
Right. I mean, it would be difficult.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible.
Why don't they put like an electric shock on like the second fence or something like that? Is that too harsh?
Maybe. But I mean, you know, it's an interesting
The first
idea.
fence,
I
I
mean,
get it,
if they
right?
do
Like,
this, if
you
they
don't know,
raise
you
it
don't
by
know.
5 feet and they get rid of all the crap in front of it, I'm okay with it.
I think that'll be the answer. But
I'm okay with it.
You know, the answer is build a wall.
You know who's going to pay for it?
Yes, you know who's going to pay for it. Mhm. Right. Okay. Russia. Make Russia pay for it. Yes.
Right.
Well, it was a strange day on the campaign trail yesterday. Indeed, particularly on the Republican side, where, first of all, Donald Trump came here to Washington, D.C., to the Mayflower Hotel. Lots of fanfare because he was going to give a major foreign policy speech. It was so major, so big, that he was not going to wing it. No, this was not a campaign rally. They assembled some people for the National Interest magazine, which is a right-wing foreign policy magazine. Got some foreign policy people, experts there, and from the think tanks, and reporters there. Bob Woodward was there, Jake Tapper was there, and so it was a fairly small crowd, but in the one of the ballrooms of the Mayflower Hotel. And Donald Trump was also not going to take any chances. He was going to read it from the teleprompter to make sure that he got every name of every country, name of every foreign leader, and every thought correct, so he didn't just ramble. With all of that build up, it was a pretty pathetic performance. He really didn't say anything. He just said things that he always says, but he said them on the teleprompter. For example, here is the dominant foreign policy of the Trump administration.
America First will be the major and overriding theme of my administration.
Now, I know you almost fell off your chair at that startling new policy. What leadership from Donald Trump? As opposed to every other president, by the way, which would be like America 35th, right? Yeah. Our goal is to make America 35th. I mean, every president wants America to be first, of course. And what about ISIS? We've been struggling for ISIS for like a long time now, right? But Donald Trump's got the answer.
But they're going to be gone. ISIS will be gone if I'm elected president, and they'll be gone quickly. They will be gone very, very quickly.
Oh, that rousing applause. Because it doesn't, the entire speech, he did not say one thing, did not give one substantive, action or policy or new idea or solution or anything. It was just these one-liner cliches. ISIS will be gone. Oh, all right. Well, we solved that problem. Boom. What about proliferation of nuclear weapons? China will take care of it. Oh, good. Solve that problem. It is so pathetic. But it's a good thing he had the teleprompter, because otherwise he might have screwed up pronunciation of a couple of countries.
Look at what happened in the 1990s. Our embassies in Kenya and Tanzania, and this was a horrible period of time for us, were attacked, and 17 brave sailors were killed on the USS Cole.
Oh,
excuse me?
Yeah, that's why it's important to stay out of Tanzania.
That's right.
Yeah.
Tanzania.
As Josh Arnott said yesterday, the phonetics obviously were not in the teleprompter. And as one who's made a living on a teleprompter, right? Usually the phonetics are in the teleprompter. Yeah. Well, somebody screwed up on that one. But.
Tanzania.
There he is. So, yeah. Well, that was the Donald Trump front. On the Ted Cruz front, look, obviously, Donald Trump sweeps the 5 primaries on Tuesday. So he's got and then he does all the morning shows Wednesday morning. So Ted Cruz has got to get back in the action somehow, right? He's got to change the topic, change the subject, get the focus back on him. Me. So he chose yesterday to make the major announcement, which he did with all the drama worthy of a Broadway production. Here's Ted making the big announcement.
I have come to the conclusion
Pause.
that if I am nominated to be President of the United States, that I will run
Pause.
on a ticket
Pause.
with my vice presidential nominee, Carly Fiorina.
Oh, finally gets it out. Oh, my God. Ted and Carly.
It was so weird.
It was so bad. Yeah.
It was bad. It was bad. Politics is theater, right? And Ted Cruz fully embraces the politics as theater. This was so bad.
Yeah, but every time he tries to show some statesmanship, right?
Yeah.
I think, or some stature. He falls flat on his face,
Totally.
like he did yesterday.
Totally.
And so clearly, this was timed and thrown together at the last minute to try to get the focus back on him in Indiana, where, remember, he now says he has to win. I have to tell you. Now, we're going to talk to Gary Snyder at the top of the next hour. We'll ask him. But it seems to me, if you're a Republican running in Indiana, you're standing alongside of Bobby Knight or Carly Fiorina.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think gets you more votes?
Bobby Knight.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Without a doubt.
What does Carly bring in Indiana?
Let's say, right, that one of the reasons he picked Carly Fiorina is because Ted Cruz knows that if he's going to stop Trump, he's going to do it in Carly Fiorina's home state of California. Okay, California has had the opportunity.
I was just going to say, don't tell me about Carly.
Yeah,
Fiorina.
you're right. Yeah.
No, in California.
Yeah.
We beat her ass.
Yeah.
And badly.
Yeah.
Because
California
she's a
had a
lousy
chance to
candidate,
elect her.
and
Yeah.
she was a lousy CEO. So Ted Cruz, Carly comes out, right? Man, she is there for the long haul, man. She's with her man.
I am prepared to stand by his side and give this everything I have to restore the soul of our party, to defeat Donald Trump, to defeat Hillary Clinton, and to take our country back.
Right. Just reminds me of how much I dislike Carly Fiorina to hear that voice again. I'm going to stand by my man, and I'm going to stand by his daughters, too.
I know two girls that I just adore. I'm so happy I can see them more. 'Cause we travel on the bus all day. We get to play. We get to play. I won't bore you with any more of the song.
Thank you for that.
But they have 4 verses, Caroline and Catherine. Love you girls.
Where's Sandman Sims when you need him? Get her off the stage. Oh, God.
So, basically, that's the Cruz entourage. He picks the girl's nanny as his running mate.
Yo.
Whoa. All right. Hey, listen, there you go. There is no better target than that. Ted Cruz and Carly Fiorina. Have at it, folks. 866-55-PRESS. What do you think of the Dream Ticket?
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
On opening body bags after Typhoon Haiyan. I can only imagine it like unearthing a scab. Zipper breaks open one by one. Mothers trying to dig through themselves an umbilical cord to lend life to a limp ghost. There is not enough relief here to hide the scent of what this child used to be. The coconut trees are not high enough to see over the inside out that was made here. Bags do not have the honor of being called burial plots. Churches ain't supposed to be mausoleums. Tacloban was morphed into ground zero. And I watch this while it snows in Madison, Wisconsin, a place where it's easier to live as a rodent than it is to be a colored person. This place drowns my people in a different way. I inhabit both places like Jigsaw corpse, trying to find itself whole. These brown boys in Tacloban aren't my cousins, but I want to carry them to safety. These brown girls in Tacloban aren't my daughters, but I want to tell them they're still growing after this choking, but I'm still an ocean away, a language farther from root. A skin tone lighter than the sand, born there, raised here, home nowhere. To watch this storm is a sorry excuse for mourning. It is to need the sun desperately. It is to realize that your body is in one country while your grief is in another. To look at your house, walk to a river, and come back to no house is to be Filipino. To look at your motherland hurting from a TV screen is to be Filipino American. To watch my islands through the blue eyes of Anderson Cooper is the most American I have ever felt, but I still cry for them. And I still pray for them because God tried to make them Atlantis before they were ready to be a myth just yet, because rebuilding is the Filipinos' most intrinsic muscle memory, but most painful trauma, because relief is just a word whose Tagalog translation I don't even know, because this poem is all I can give for my country, bleeding in salt water. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord keeps trying to drown us. Hallowed be thy bodies. Thy kingdom come down in waves and winds on earth as it is destroyed. Take us this day our daily rations, and forgive those who have tried to kill us as we forgive those who have tried to kill us. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us whose skin has always meant sin now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 26 minutes after the hour, the big team. I'm telling you, I'm surprised Donald Trump just didn't throw in the towel when he heard that Carly was running for David. Oh, well, I can't beat them. Yeah, right. What do you got, Peter?
On Twitter, @BP Show is where you can find us. Yesterday, after this news came out, Barbara Boxer tweeted, I predict that the latest Cruz-Fiorina merger will be as successful as her last one.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
Barbara Boxer, who killed Cruz-Fiorina in the last Senate race in California. Tim is calling from Collingswood, New Jersey. Tim, what do you think of the Dream Team?
Well, it's not the Dream Team I'm concerned about. What everybody's talking about with Hillary being the chosen one and all the Republicans beating Hillary. But nobody's saying that Hillary is the one unifying force that will bring the Republican Party together. I mean, what name do Republicans love to hate?
There's no doubt about that, Tim. If they can ever come together, do you really think that Cruz and Trump and all of that gang is going to get together after this convention?
I think that the name Clinton is the one thing that all Republicans will rally behind to hate.
Yeah. I think you're right, but I would, and Tim, I really appreciate the call. But you know what? The Republican Party has been running on the Clinton hate machine for a long time, right? Clinton haters, the Clinton haters. There are a lot of Clinton haters, but there are not enough Clinton haters to elect the President of the United States. More calls on the other side.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough. Enough. Enough.
Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Here we go at 34 minutes after the hour on a Thursday, April 28th, where we are just blown away by the brilliant political move of Ted Cruz yesterday. Realizing, now remember, this comes a day after he was eliminated from winning the nomination, or at least in the primaries.
Yeah.
That the only way he could win the nomination would be if the convention goes to a second ballot. Because if Donald Trump has almost 1230, if Donald Trump does not get to 1237 before Cleveland, but is almost there, he's going to be one or the other.
Yeah.
Then the first ballot is not going to nominate anybody else because people are committed on the first ballot. So Ted Cruz's only shot is if it goes to a second, third, or fourth ballot. But so having been eliminated from competition, basically, he chooses yesterday to announce his vice presidential running mate, Cruz-Fiorina, which was really a very, very transparent attempt to get the spotlight somehow back on him and away from Donald Trump. Lots of luck with that.
Let us not forget, not only did Ted Cruz lose badly on primary night, he lost every single county that he ran in. He came in...
He got 5 delegates.
5 delegates. He came in third in almost every state.
Yeah.
He lost by like 40 points to Donald Trump in almost every state. 50 in some of the states. 50 points in some of the states.
Yeah.
So like he got creamed. If there's any trend that Ted Cruz is on, it's downward. And that's what we've been seeing the last, week or so with Ted Cruz. He's just getting destroyed.
And usually the rats jump off the sinking ship, but in this case, the rat jumped on.
Yeah, right.
And she was singing all the way.
Yeah.
While she was jumping on. But before we move on, not right now, this moment, but before we end this segment, we have to hear her sing again.
Can we please?
We have to, yeah. So just get it ready, Jamie.
Take out my earpiece and I'll have to listen to this
meanwhile, let's say hello to Joe down in Sarasota. I'm a little nervous about this call because I only know one Joe in Sarasota, Florida, and that's Joe Scarborough. This had better not be Joe Scarborough
this isn't
on the
Morning
line.
Joe, is it?
Hi, Joe.
Hi, I'm not him.
All right, good.
I just want to say that Ted Cruz, I don't know who's worse, but I mean, Ted Cruz he's crazy. I mean, what I'm trying to say is in Texas, he called himself Walkover. He's so proud of it. I mean, he has T-shirts, coffee mugs, bumper stickers, pens, billboards, you name it.
Say what?
I mean, not even.
Wacko Bird?
Yeah,
Wacko Bird.
Wacko Bird. I mean, he's so proud of it. I mean, I mean, we all know that Ted Cruz. If Ted Cruz shut down the government back in the days when the founders were alive, believe me, our founding fathers, they will hang Ted Cruz in the tallest tree and deport Ted Cruz back to Canada in a coffin.
All right, Joe. I don't think Joe's a big fan of Ted Cruz.
I don't think so.
I don't think our founding fathers would have been hanging people either, but I get your point. Which is worth, I mean, look, 866-55-PRESS. You want to pile on, you want to comment, you want to praise Cruz-Fiorina, I don't know, but I like the fact that he chose a woman. I think that was maybe kind of one smart aspect of it. But, I mean, Cruz-Fiorina, really? Seriously, did he look at, I know they said they were vetting her. Did they really look at, number one, her skills as a candidate? Again, we said earlier, Barbara Boxer, she ran against Barbara Boxer when Barbara was up for re-election the last time, 6 years ago. Barbara Boxer crushed Cruz-Fiorina because Carly's experience as a CEO was so terrible, so lamentable. I mean, she took over a great company, Hewlett-Packard, who were like the first in the whole high-tech, world, right? And founded by the great American David Packard. And she ran that company into the ground, fired 30,000 people, and the stock for the company plummeted. She was run out of the company because she had done such a lousy job. And then she turns around and basically says, I want to do for California what I did for Hewlett-Packard. And the voters said, oh, no, we're not going to give you the key, to use President Obama's metaphor, we're not going to give you the keys to the car again. You ran it into the ditch the last time. So now she says, basically, I want to do for America what I did for Hewlett-Packard.
Thanks, but no thanks?
Right.
You know, the other thing that strikes me about this is, you remember in...
What does she bring to the...
Right. So in 2008, right, after Barack Obama beat Hillary Clinton, and there was a conversation about all of these Hillary voters and whether or not they were going to come back into the Democratic Party and vote for Barack Obama, and what was going to happen to all of these women voters, right? So the Republicans' knee-jerk reaction was, we got to get a woman. Just go get any woman. Let's get Sarah Palin. Assuming that women are dumb enough to just vote for a woman because she's on the ticket, they don't actually look at, you know, her actual credentials and whether or not she could do the job. And how did that work out? Mm-hmm. Right? John McCain got blown out of the water and Sarah Palin's a laughingstock. Again, I think this is Ted Cruz's way of saying there's probably going to be a woman on the Democratic ticket. We need to get some female voters. Let's just go get a woman. Put aside the fact that she was a disaster as a businesswoman. She's run for political office a couple times. She got blown out of the water when she ran for office. And
by the way, her performance in the primaries,
not good.
Not real. Exactly.
Not good.
And didn't really say, "Oh boy, this is the future of the Republic." We didn't come away saying she is the future of the Republican Party. She started out, of course, on the kiddie table. Remember?
Yeah.
Now she was so good on the kiddie table that she graduated to the big table. But I mean, look at the competition on the kiddie table.
Yeah.
She was up against George Pataki, Bobby Jindal, Jim Gilmore. I mean, of course, she shone right in that group. And then she moves up to the big table, and she lasted, what, one debate, maybe two?
One debate.
And she was terrible. She wouldn't shut up. She kept interrupting people and had nothing to say.
She did the two debates, and remember, one of those debates is where she infamously made the claim about the Planned Parenthood videos,
Yes,
which were
right.
100% false.
Yeah,
not true.
We're still waiting to see those videos. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
From Cruz-Fiorina, I'm telling you. And there's the other thing is this, and that Ted Cruz is known, even among Republicans. Ted Cruz is the most unpopular person in the United States Senate, hands down. Democrats don't like him. Republicans don't like him. He called Mitch McConnell a liar on the floor of the Senate. He is the most disliked man in Washington, D.C., and I think Carly is the most disliked in California.
I think that's probably right. Yeah.
So you have the two most unlikable people in the country now on the same ticket. Jim, calling from Mountain Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hello, Jim.
Good morning, Bill. Good morning, Peter. Everybody else.
Hey, you don't have to worry about Cruz in New Mexico because John Kasich is going to carry New Mexico, right?
Yeah, I was just wondering if John Kasich knew that we're filled with Hispanic names in New Mexico. So Cruz on the ballot, I don't know if Kasich's going to even register. Maybe he could read a paper, swim in the pool, have a good meal. Enjoy his stay here. But I was calling to comment on Cruz-Fiorina singing and Ted Cruz nominating his vice president in elections. He's getting creamed. Is any of this starting to look like a Stanley Kubrick film or what?
Good point.
Yeah,
Good
indeed.
point.
Clockwork Orange.
So, yeah, it's just so weird. It's like the whole thing is just bizarre.
Yeah, right. But the one thing is she's going to take good care of those little girls, and she's going to sing them a little lullaby.
I know two girls that I just adore. I'm so happy I can see them more. 'Cause we travel on the bus all day. We get to play. I won't.
Yes. No, don't bore us with
Don't bore us
rest
with
of the
more,
song.
please. Just
Okay. I got to tell you, there's somebody else here that sings for her supper, and that's Susan Paige from USA Today. We'll talk to her next on the news of the day.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489,856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit, highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors, shift, 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 shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands. Heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
Maybe not as loud as Donald Trump, but he's a hell of a lot smarter. This is your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election, The Bill Press Show.
Here we go at 12 minutes before the top of the hour. It is the Bill Press Show coming live from Washington, D.C. Let's see, is our next guest on the line?
I know 2 girls that I just adore. I'm so happy I can see them more.
Oh, man. Susan Paige from USA Today. Is she in great voice this morning?
Who knew she could sing so well?
I know.
You know, I don't think we ever heard Dick Cheney do that kind of thing.
Oh, man.
Oh, Susan,
Thankfully.
How are you? What did you think of that big announcement yesterday?
Man, it's changed everything.
It has, hasn't
race
it?
has been turned upside down. You know what I actually think? I think it's a stunt. I think it's not likely to make any difference. But I think it was a pretty smart stunt by Ted Cruz, because if he hadn't done this, we would be talking about Trump's foreign policy speech and about how Cruz no longer has a mathematical chance of winning the nomination.
All right. It is pretty brazen to think that the morning after you are eliminated, right, from winning the nomination, at least during the primaries, you name your running mate. Think about that, right?
It's a different approach.
Chutzpah, is that what they call it?
Chutzpah. Michelle Bachmann calls it chutzpah.
Oh, that's
remember?
right. Michelle
Yes,
Bachmann, chutzpah.
But you know what? He's probably at the end of the road. He's a very strategic guy, or maybe he's a very tactical guy, and so why not? What's the downside for him doing this? Besides the singing part, which I'll leave to your judgment.
Clearly, it could not. He could not sing any lower, I think, in the race. I don't think it'll help him in Indiana. I think Bobby Knight for Donald Trump, right, was probably a better draw.
Yes, I'm sure that's right. Now, Bill, let me ask you: does it help him in California?
No. She got murdered when she ran against Barbara Boxer the last time, and people have not forgotten that at all.
Speaking of Barbara Boxer, apparently she hasn't. All is not apparently forgiven because she has been really cutting toward Cruz-Fiorina. I don't know if you saw her tweet.
We did. Peter read it earlier. Do you have it there, Peter?
Yeah. I just have to pull it up really quickly. She predicted that Carly's latest merger. Yeah, I predict that the latest Carly-Fiorina merger will be as successful as her last one.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to know some of the backstory on HP and Barbara Boxer and all that, but that does show 140 characters put to good use.
But let me tell you, in California they do remember. Yeah. And so no, it's not going to help there. But so what about were you there for Donald Trump's foreign policy speech?
I watched it on TV.
Yeah.
And I thought it was remarkable.
In what sense?
Well,
Susan Paige?
it is true. It was a more coherent statement of his policies than he's had in the past. A little less off the cuff. He had a text. He read from a teleprompter. It was, though, very consistent with the things he said on the stump in the past. I mean,
but little substance still, right? I mean, like when he said on ISIS will be gone, and they'll be gone quickly.
But I'm not going to tell you how.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. So, but this is, of course, isn't this something that Donald Trump is going to now need to do? Is give a series of speeches where he tries to flesh out what he's had in the past is an attitude that people have liked. But if he's going to be the nominee, and I think that is likely, he needs to flesh it out with some actual specific policies about what he'd do. So, get ready for more of these kind of speeches, I assume.
Right. Now, you've been writing about what the fall campaign is going to look like. But do you think this week we now know who the nominees of the two parties are going to be?
I think we probably do. I mean, it's just one step from saying for sure, because we've said many things for sure in the past that turned out to be 100% wrong. So,
right.
but I think probably. I mean, I think you'd have to have lightning strike to not end up with a race between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton in the fall. And can you believe that we're in that situation?
No. I mean, the other night on CNN, I kept pinching myself, right? We were sitting around with this panel talking about Donald Trump, the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party. And we all remember where we were June 16 last year when he came down the escalator. And made that big announcement.
He is a remarkable political talent. I think you have to say that. He's done this without the embellishments of a traditional campaign, like a pollster, for instance. Although I think they're paying for polling now. But this will be a different kind of race. The map will be different than the maps we've gotten used to the last several elections, and a race between two candidates who each has a negative rating of 50%. We've never had that before.
No. And do you? Here's what I'm worried about, or what I think is, I'm afraid that some Democrats, at least, will underrate Donald Trump the same way Republicans did at the beginning of this primary.
I think that's a big risk. This assumption that not only will Donald Trump lose big, but he'll bring down the Republican-controlled Senate with him. Mm-hmm. Let's talk to Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio and Rick Perry about that.
Right. And the idea that basically all Democrats. I mean, this is the best thing that could happen. I hear it all the time from Democrats. This is the best thing that could happen to us. This is our get out the vote strategy, right? I mean, it's going to be just a bloodbath. Not so sure about that.
And it may be that way, but I think it's hard to assume that at this point. And I just remember back to the very first presidential campaign I covered in 1980, and the people around Jimmy Carter who said, "Oh, thank God, they've nominated Ronald Reagan."
By the way, Ronald Reagan, who also announced his running mate, right? Richard Schweitzer, remember that?
But of course that was as he was going into the convention.
Still didn't help him, did it?
Well, I don't know. It shook things up. He was going to lose. I think it was a similar kind of strategy, but a little later.
All right. Well, Susan, you're in fine voice this morning, and it's so good to catch up with you again.
Hey, thank you, Bill.
Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. See you Saturday night.
You bet.
All right, for the big White House Correspondents' Dinner. Got it. Susan Paige, USAtoday.com.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
"21. My father is run over by a car. He's passed out in the road with a blood alcohol content 4 times the legal limit. I do not cry. 4 months later, the nurses lose his pulse, and I wonder whose life flashed before his eyes. Rewinding VHS tapes, old home videos. 20. 19. I haven't brought a friend home in 4 years. 18. My mother sips the word divorce. Her mouth curls at the taste like it burns going down. 17. I start doing homework at Starbucks. I have more meaningful conversations with the barista than with my family. 16. I wait for Christmas Eve. My brother and I usually exchange gifts to one another early. This year, he and my father exchange blows. My mother doesn't go to Mass. 15, I come up with the theory that my father started drinking again because maybe he found out I'm gay. Like, if he could make everything else blurry, maybe somehow I'd look straight. 15. My mother cleans up his vomit in the middle of the night and cooks breakfast in the morning like she hasn't lost her appetite. 15. I blame myself. 15. My brother blames everyone else. 15. My mother blames the dog. 15. Super Bowl Sunday, my father bursts through the door like an avalanche, picking up speed and debris as he falls. Banisters, coffee tables, picture frames, tumbling, stumbling. I find his AA chip on the kitchen counter. 14. My father's been sober for 10, maybe 11 years. I just know we don't even think about it anymore. 13. 12. 11, Mom tells me Daddy's meetings are for AA. She asks if I know what that means. I don't. I nod anyway. 10. My parents never drink wine at family gatherings. All my other aunts and uncles do. I get distracted by the TV and forget to ask why. 9. 8. 7. 6. I want to be Spider-Man. Or my dad. They're kind of the same. 5. 4. 3, I have a nightmare. The recurring one about Ursula from The Little Mermaid. So I get up. I waddle toward Mommy and Daddy's room, blankie in hand. I pause. Daddy's standing in his underwear, silhouetted by a refrigerator light. He raises a bottle to his lips. 2. 1. 0. When my mother was pregnant with me, I wonder if she hoped, as so many mothers do, that her baby boy would grow up to be just like his father.
This is the Bill Press Show.
We'll take a look at Indiana next.
The U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce plans to formally endorse 2 candidates today for president, and one might think that the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce might take a look at the only Latino still running for president, Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
You would think that? That is not the case. They plan to endorse Hillary Clinton and John Kasich, who they endorse on each side, and not Ted Cruz. Completely left him out of the endorsement.
Well, he's a Canadian.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, you know,
That's a
he
good
may
point.
have that name, but he's from Canada.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, guys, I want to take the last part of the day to change our focus and talk a little bit about water. There's rivers, there's lakes, there's huge oceans. You get thirsty, you just go and you get some water, right? We rely on rain for our water. We even rely on snow. But what if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. I want you to tell your parents, your friends, your neighbors, how important it is to save water. It's up to you guys to save the planet. All right?
if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. It's up to you guys to save the planet.
Hi, I'm Mark LaFleur, and I produced the short film you just watched called Aquaforce. California is experiencing one of the worst droughts it's ever had, and now, more than ever, it's important for everyone to do their part to help conserve water. The reason I made this film is because I wanted to make something fun and informative that would get people talking about the California drought. Obviously, this is an important issue because we have a limited amount of clean drinking water. I think it was very important to let people know, especially young people, that this is an important resource, maybe our most important resource, and it's something that we can't take for granted and we certainly can't waste. I really wanted this to be something that children would respond to. The kind of thing that any kid anywhere in the world, no matter what language they speak, could understand the story and be entertained by it and leave it knowing that this is something important, that if they didn't already know about this, that it's now going to be a part of the way that they think about water, the way that they live life, and that it's something that they'll share with their friends. The fact that they watch this video once or twice and they immediately understand that water is important, that's it. That was the whole point of this thing, to get it into the conversation, to make it something that kids are thinking about, talking about, that they're aware of, and that they know is important. This project was self-funded, so we relied on the support of our community to make it happen. It was pretty amazing to just have our neighbors, our friends, and our coworkers come together and volunteer their time and their homes and their kids to make this thing happen. Thanks for checking out the video. Keep the Aquaforce going, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
He shut down the government. She shut down Hewlett-Packard. What a great team. Cruz-Fiorina. Hello, everybody. Cruz Carly. It's the Bill Press Show, Thursday, April 28th. So good to see you today. We are happy to join you on your local progressive talk radio station, coast to coast. We are happy to join you on Free Speech TV, and they're in Radio Land and they're in TV Land. Good to be with you today. As we are just blown away by the powerful team of Ted Cruz and Carly Fiorina. It changes everything. The entire primary process turned upside down. All of those Trump voters are saying, oh, my God, well, if we had known we had that kind of a choice, then we wouldn't have voted for Donald Trump.
Everything's changed.
Everything has changed. I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump bows out today because he knows he could never beat the two of them. You got it. We are so happy to see you today and look forward to hearing from you. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. We got a great show for you today. Lots going on here. It is a very special day today. So our team has expanded. Not only Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson. Hello, guys.
Hey.
Good morning.
Here we are.
With Ray Rogers here, as always, to take your calls. And Cyprian Bolding still, I think, running the TriCast, although it might have been taken over now by...
he's still here.
Oh,
he's still here.
All right. And then we have a couple of extra members of our team this morning because this is Bring Your Children, progeny, whatever you want to
Offspring.
Take your child to work day.
Take your child to work day, okay. Peter, you take it from here.
I brought both of my kids in, Gray and Magnus. Gray is in 5th grade, so he didn't have to go to school today. He did have to wake up super early, though. Hey, buddy.
Hey, whoa. What?
And then
we're gonna get Magnus too. Hold on.
Oh, he's gonna get Magnus.
And then his brother Magnus is also here, who's a 2nd grader, and he's here too.
Hey, hi Magnus,
guys.
hi Gray.
Hi.
What? Well, wait, Gray. Why didn't you have to go to school today?
We didn't have to go to school.
Yeah, because he's here. Because he's here for Take Your Child to Work today.
Take your child.
Yeah, they get the day off.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's an excused absence, so it won't count against them. They said they'd rather be here than school.
Right?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
It's awesome.
Right. Awesome to have a whole day off. All right. So you could, because it's pretty early, like you could be here for the whole show and then go to school all day, too.
That's a good idea.
Nope. No.
Yeah, we could do that, guys.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in today, and I hope you enjoyed the donuts. We do not have donuts every day.
That's right. Thank you very much for the donuts.
What's that?
Magnus was guilty for the donuts.
They got donuts. They got donut glaze all over them now, and they're jacked up on sugar. which is how it should be.
It's exactly how it should be. That, to me, that's the start of a good day. All right, yes, indeed. And we got the start of a great program here. Gary Snyder's going to join us, our good friend out at Indiana Talks, to give us the uptake on the Indiana primary. Betsy Woodruff will be along from Daily Beast. Next hour, reporters from the New York Times and the National Journal. But first, Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Let's say hello to Wobbles.
Hello.
Wobbles is a gang leader from the Bronx who actually went to jail for a high-volume gun trafficking network. But he was in court earlier this week because he's in a little bit of trouble. He got busted smuggling snacks into prison. Here's the story of Wobbles. 500 pounds is how big this guy is. He's a big guy. He's a big guy. And so they have to put him in a wheelchair to get him from prison to court. And he was caught smuggling an entire package of honey roasted Planters peanuts underneath one of his legs when he was leaving the courtroom. They found it. He got busted, and they're now trying to figure out who gave him those snacks.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I know. They can't let him have those snacks.
Sounds like he needs snacks.
Can't let him have... Well, actually, that's one of the problems. His lawyer argued that jail is just not set up for someone his size. They don't make prison outfits in that size, and he can't sustain a diet in prison. So maybe he, lose a little bit of weight in prison this way. 500 pounds, that guy is.
For the record, Magnus loved the story.
Did he? Wobbles? Wobbles the criminal mastermind? Yesterday, Facebook had some very positive earnings news, which means Mark Zuckerberg made a lot of money. Mark Zuckerberg he moved up. He is the 6th richest person in the world. According to Forbes, his wealth estimate is now at $51.7 billion. That puts him ahead of Oracle chairman Larry Ellison, who was previously at that position. Zuckerberg leapt over him. This, of course, was as of 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time yesterday. Things could change. You know how it goes. Facebook stock jumped nearly 10% in after-hours trading because they had announced their revenue and earnings had beat their expectations for the first quarter of 2016.
Yeah. Good for him.
Yeah, right. And a big discovery in New Guinea. Scientists discovered a new weevil, a brand new bug, this weevil, that has like a big furry head and furry legs, and so they gave it a very interesting name. It is the Trignopterus chewbacca. They named it after the Chewbacca from Star Wars because of all the fur that he has on his body.
All right.
New weevils. That's pretty cool.
Look out for that. With global warming, they'll be here soon.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. 12 minutes after the hour. Yes, indeed. After the 5 big primaries in the Northeast Corridor, or the Acela Corridor, all attention focusing on Indiana. And, of course, that's where Ted Cruz announced his running mate yesterday and where Donald Trump showed up with Bobby Knight. What's going on? How's it look in Indiana? We have the inside story from our good friend, host of the Gary Snyder Show, president of Indiana Talks, 8:10 a.m., Gary Snyder, and our partner in crime, Gary Snyder himself, joining us on our newsline. Hey, Gary, good to catch up with you.
Well, hey, thanks. I'm listening to that story about the new weevil they found.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
If it had small hands, you could have named it Donald Trump.
There you go. There you go. Very small hands.
That would have been appropriate for sure. All right, now the focus, the spotlight is on the Hoosier State right now, Gary. Let's start on the Republican side. Will this little, clever move by Ted Cruz work for him in Indiana?
Well, it could, because here's the thing. Indiana, we have an NFL team, and a lot of people follow the Colts. But a lot of people here in Indiana also play fantasy football. So since Ted Cruz is now playing fantasy politics, it could very well work.
That's a good way of putting it, because it is fantasy politics for sure for Ted Cruz, right?
Totally.
Right. Well, we've had 2 polls come out here in the last week. One showed Trump up 7, the other showed Trump up 8. And, I tell this story on every show that I do. I drive down on my way to work or wherever I'm going. I always pass a house. It's a double-wide trailer. It has a Confederate flag flying out front. It has a pit bull chained up to the front yard, and there's a Trump sign out front. And you just described about 35 to 40% of Indiana, and those are your Trump voters.
Wow.
I think every poll that I've seen of Indiana has Trump up. And yet, Ted Cruz has kind of made this his do or die stand, right? I mean, John Kasich is not campaigning there, so it's up to Ted Cruz to stop Donald Trump. Right?
You know, it's funny you mention John Kasich, because I'm pretty sure most Hoosiers thought he dropped out after New York or after he won Ohio. We've seen nothing from John Kasich, and when he puts out a statement saying he's dropping out or he's not going to participate in Indiana, you know, he hasn't participated to begin with. So I don't think that collusion helps him, as Donald Trump would say. I think that Donald Trump, this is his race to win. You know, the Cruz-Fiorina, however you say her name, I believe that's just seen as a desperate move, and Trump wins this state by at least 6 or 7 points.
And how about Bobby Ritter? A big plus for Donald Trump, or people sort of...
Bobby Knight?
Bobby Knight, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Bobby
What
Knight.
am I saying? Yeah, Bobby Knight.
You know, Bobby Knight has been gone from the state for a long, long time. And I was a Bobby Knight fan, but most Hoosiers have moved on. And, you know, I have a daughter that goes to Purdue University, and I was an Indiana fan growing up. And when you're an Indiana fan growing up, you hate Purdue. It's just one of those things. And last night I tweeted "Boiler up." I mean, let's go. And when if you're gonna come into Indiana and you're gonna try to play the folksy Hoosier guy, you know, at least know what a basketball goal is, or a basketball. It's a hoop. It's not a basketball ring. And he's taken a lot of heat over that. And he may lose the state just on calling it a basketball ring itself.
Yeah, he was trying to be so clever, right, at that point. Every time he tries, I think, Ted Cruz, same with the Cruz-Fiorina thing yesterday, he falls flat on his face. It just doesn't seem to work. How about on the Democratic side? What's it look like? I know Bernie's been in there. Hillary's been in there. She was there Tuesday during the day. What are you hearing? What do you see?
Well, the same polls that put Trump up have Clinton up by 3 points. That was about a week ago. Hillary is not spending a dollar in this state so far. But she's had Bill in. She'll have Bill in again on Saturday. She's been here. Chelsea will be here Friday. She's pretty much become an honorary Hoosier here over the last week. Bernie was here yesterday visiting Purdue, the college towns. And it will be a close race here in Indiana between Hillary and Bernie. I think it's, you know, a lot of people that I talk to that may be Bernie fans are kind of resigned to the fact now that Hillary's probably going to get the nomination. And that enthusiasm outside of the college towns where he held the rallies yesterday seems to be a little subdued.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. It's interesting that you went there because it's a big decision, I guess, for Bernie fans, Bernie supporters, knowing that he probably is not going to be the nominee. Do they still vote for him in the primary? I would think a lot of them will, because they know that what Bernie is about is more than just winning the nomination. He wants to certainly influence the platform. He wants to help shape the agenda about the issues, keep his issues out there. He wants to reform the Democratic Party. I mean, you know, there's a lot more that Bernie wants to do. But some people may just say, well, what the hell? It's going to be Hillary anyhow, so might as well vote for her or not vote at all. Right?
I think that's true. Like I said, I get calls from Bernie followers all the time, and their attitude here the last couple of days seems to be a little subdued.
Yeah.
They say they'll still go vote for him. They're still showing up at his rallies. I mean, those are enthusiastic rallies at Purdue and IU. But, you know,
I hope
it just seems like it's been deflated a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard. It would be hard not to be, right, when you realize that the math is, at this point, just about impossible. But I would hope they would still go out, and I would hope they would still vote for him, and I hope they wouldn't abandon the ship that easy. And by the way, if Hillary's up 3 points, Bernie has overcome deficit poll numbers a lot bigger than that in several states. Look at Michigan, right, for example.
Right, totally. Just to our north, where the air is clean and the water isn't.
Nice.
Oh, that little interstate rivalry going on there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
now there's two things we hate in Indiana: Ohio State fan and Michigan fan.
Tell us about the primary. I should know this, but I don't. Is it an open primary or a closed primary?
It is an open primary, so you can show up with your 10 forms of ID to get your ballot, and you can take either ballot that you want, either the Republican or Democrat. And we were at 8 years ago, Indiana was at the epicenter of the Operation Chaos from I forget his name, that radio show. But anyway, you can pick either ballot you want and vote for whomever you like.
Can independents vote in the primary?
We don't register here as a party. You show up at the polls.
Oh, I see.
You show your ID and you tell them which ballot you want.
Well, you know what? That's the way I think it ought to be nationwide. Myself, I really do think the primaries ought to be open. So, and by the way, as we've seen, Bernie does a lot better in an open primary. That's why he won Rhode Island, and one of the reasons he lost the other 4 on Tuesday. Well, Gary, we'll be watching. It's great to be a partner of yours in Indiana. Great to be on the same team, and really appreciate your joining us this morning. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, we'll send people to you at Indiana Talks, indianatalks.com. It's a Gary Snyder show. Gary Snyder, Indiana Talks, 8:10 a.m. Thanks for keeping up with us in Indiana on Indiana Talks. We'll be right back.
Can't catch the entire show? Listen to BP in 3, where we turn 3 hours into 3 minutes. Find it every day at BP Show on Twitter or at BillPressShow.com.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power.
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go again, 26 minutes after the hour. Now Betsy Woodruff from Daily Beast in studio with us for the next half hour. Yesterday, it was a much ballyhooed foreign policy address by Donald Trump. The morning after winning the 5 primaries in the Northeast Corridor. Donald Trump coming here to Washington to the Mayflower Hotel. A little gathering of foreign policy experts and reporters gathered by the National Intelligence magazine. It was supposed to be Donald Trump showing that he really is substantive, that he really does know what he's talking about, that he really has thought through foreign policy, which may not be apparent in his rallies, and he's going to be a dynamic and confident world leader. Didn't quite show that way. The New York Times headline is, Trump details foreign policy of paradoxes. Didn't say a lot that he hasn't already said. He just said it by reading off the teleprompter. For example, he says, America is going to be strong again. America is going to be great again. It's going to be a friend again. What does that mean?
It doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything. Donald Trump says, here's what my guiding foreign policy is going to be.
America first will be the major and overriding theme of my administration.
First of all, it sounds like he took a Quaalude. Like, he sounds so subdued and not into
But
this.
one thing, ISIS, Syria, don't worry about that anymore.
But they're going to be gone. ISIS will be gone if I'm elected president, and they'll be gone quickly. They will be gone very, very quickly.
Boy, I'm glad to know that. Don't have to worry about that anymore. Of course, don't ask him how ISIS will be gone.
Right.
Don't ask him what happens to President Assad when ISIS is gone, if it's gone. You know what? He doesn't know crap about foreign policy.
This
Betsy Woodruff
is the
joining
Bill
us next.
Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine. Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Indeed it is. At 33 minutes after the hour, The Bill Press Show, Thursday, April 28th. Yep, we are out of the Acela Carter and into Indiana now, right? That's the next big, and of course, the entire landscape has changed with the decision by Ted Cruz to elevate Cruz-Fiorina as his running mate in Indiana. Betsy Woodruff covering the primaries for the Daily Beast, the plague of the Donald Trump campaign.
Got that right, man.
Joins us in studio. Betsy, good to see you again. Also a frequent guest host here of the Bill Press Show, and it's nice to have you in studio again. So, but you've figured out that Donald Trump can't keep you out of as a reporter, out of the rallies, right?
We do whatever it takes to bring the truth to our loyal readers, even if what it takes is standing in line at a Trump rally for a couple hours, which is a joyful experience that I have had several times now. The campaign is actually pretty chill if we just wait in line with hoi polloi. So that's kind of how we figure it out. And I went to the Harrisburg rally.
Don't
which
they
was quite a
realize
scene.
when they get to the White House, they're going to need you as a friend, right? And wouldn't they treat you a little better after all this time? I mean,
I'm sure they'll figure that out one of these days.
Yeah.
They'll realize how invaluable it is to have www.thedailybeast.com in your corner.
So you went to Harrisburg. How was he? Obviously, he was received pretty well in Pennsylvania. He carried every single county in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, not too shabby. I can't really complain about that. He got an extremely warm welcome. It was a very large crowd. There was a large line, very lengthy line outside of folks waiting to get in. A lot of them couldn't get in by the time he started because it was taking so long to get through security. So
Do you have to go through a metal detector?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is probably a good idea.
Yeah, I think
probably reasonable
okay with that.
precautions.
I would think for a Trump rally. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. At a Trump rally, only the bad guys have guns. The good guys have to get magged. One thing that really struck me about this rally that I wrote about a few days ago was that there was a decently sizable cohort of skinheads. Pennsylvania, as it turns out, has a long and interesting and troubled history.
What a surprise that the skinheads are supporting Donald Trump.
Who would have thunk?
I know,
What a
right?
surprise that they vote. I mean, of course, if they're at the rally, it doesn't mean they vote. But,
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I
Did
saw,
you talk to them?
No, I didn't. Opted out of that interview. Although I reached out to them multiple times afterwards and didn't get any response. I did interact with some folks from another white supremacist group, but they also didn't want to go on the record. But anyway, this group's called the Keystone State Skinheads. They sort of did a rebranding a few years back to trying to call themselves Keystone United. Apparently, the skinhead brand is a little troubled these days. I know, like who would have thought that? But the guys at this rally still wore their KSS badges, which of course stands for skinhead. That's what the latter S of that acronym is. And it turns out something I didn't know until I started working on this story, after seeing a large and rather intimidating group of men with shaved heads and Norse rune tattoos. One thing I didn't know is that Pennsylvania actually has a pretty long and troubling history of white supremacist organization. All the way back to the 1920s, the KKK was extremely active, particularly in western Pennsylvania. And since then, white supremacist groups have stayed pretty busy. Keystone State Skinheads is one of the largest and best organized state-level white supremacist skinhead groups in the country. They're based in Pennsylvania, of course, which is the skinhead state. And I spoke with a professor at Lehigh University.
I had no idea. I mean, I think of skinheads as Idaho or, out in western, northwestern.
Shout out to the
state.
nice listeners of Idaho.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what you mean, though. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Pennsylvania.
and one thing that struck me, I spoke with a professor at Lehigh University, James Peterson, who said that there's actually part of the reason that we see so much white supremacist activity in Pennsylvania is kind of for the same reason you see so much of it in states like Michigan. There's kind of this Rust Belt racism that goes back to the time of the Great Migration, when about the first two-thirds of the 20th century, a lot of African Americans migrated from the South to the North looking for better jobs, looking for a better life, hopefully a little less racism. And many of the white working class folks in these states responded by saying, we don't want to compete with these workers. So they organized into a lot of these groups, and there was kind of an uptick in white supremacist pushback against these new workers. In Pennsylvania, that sort of materialized in terms of unions, trying to keep African Americans from joining unions, from getting union protection, from having leadership roles in unions.
Right.
We saw that sort of in person, in the flesh at this Trump rally. It still very much exists. It's very much a factor of how the state works.
And Donald Trump appeals to those worst instincts, those, of that kind of people.
Exactly. Donald Trump's messaging.
To hate. It's okay to.
Mm-hmm. And also, he also really taps into a fear that many working class white folks, racist or not, have of globalization, have of having to compete with other workers, particularly workers who aren't white. He really taps into that, and it's something that they find very compelling. I was going through a lot of Keystone State Skinheads' online presence, their Twitter, their website, and as would not surprise you, one of the things that they focus on the most is immigration, very anti-immigration, lots of fear-mongering about undocumented immigrants, undocumented immigrant crime. They blame the Jew-controlled media for bringing these people in. So there's a lot of anti-Semitic conspiracy theorizing that's connected to that fear of immigrants. And of course, when Trump talks about how undocumented immigrants are horrible criminals and rapists and they're bringing in heroin to destroy your communities, those are concerns, of course, that these skinheads also telegraph on social media and on their internet presences. So he's really selling what they're buying, if you will.
No, in these states, right, where the middle class has been so hammered for so long, right, and they hear Donald Trump talk about the trade deals, which have taken away their jobs. They hear about his building this wall and throwing these people out who are they feel are competing. So a lot of the jobs have left because of the trade deals. The jobs that are here are being taken away from them, they believe, by
immigrants.
By immigrants, right? And Donald Trump says we're going to throw them all out. That has an appeal.
Without a doubt. And I spoke...
It's
James,
scary that there are people who have those fears, but...
Absolutely. And James Peterson, who chairs the Africana Studies Department at Lehigh University, told me that often when we talk about white supremacy, we talk about it as something that's totally irrational, right? That's just based on sort of pure bigotry, hate, and nothing else. And a point he made that I thought was really interesting is that in situations where we see really active white supremacist groups, there's often an undercurrent of economic fear. It often comes, not just from pure racism, but also from white working class groups where who worry about competition, who worry about being able to take care of their families. And a point that he made is that white poverty and white supremacism are often directly correlated,
so
which is horrible but predictable.
The economic insecurity is real.
And there are plenty of people
who... What they believe is responsible for it is not real. Right?
Exactly. And of course
they're blaming the wrong people for it.
And of course there are tons and tons of blue-collar working class whites who are not white supremacists, obviously. Just because you're economically struggling does not mean you're going to be racist, of course. But there's a correlation there that's really, kind of darkly predictable.
And I come back to a point we made in the last hour, and that is one of the reasons why people have to be very cautious or very careful about not believing that Donald Trump is going to be an easy pushover for Democrats, assuming he's a nominee in the general.
Without a doubt.
Because there's that appeal that's pretty scary. Now, but of course, any talk about Donald Trump is basically meaningless today because Ted Cruz turned everything upside down yesterday by naming Carly Fiorina as a... can we play the announcement again? Because it was done with such dramatic effect by Ted. He's probably going to get nominated for a Tony this year because of this performance yesterday.
I have come to the conclusion that if I am nominated to be President of the United States, that I will run on a ticket with my vice presidential nominee, Carly Fiorina.
She's going to be a great vice president.
The dramatic pauses is just so impressive.
Without a doubt.
Totally meaningless act.
No, I mean, the fact that we're talking about Ted Cruz and Carly Fiorina means that he's had a certain modicum of success here, right? This is coming
Which is
right
why
after...
he did it, of course.
Without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, this is coming right after Trump won overwhelmingly 5 primaries by double digits each. He went 5 for 5, and then gave a foreign policy speech that could have been the central story for today. Instead, the central story is Ted Cruz picking Carly Fiorina, and he's going to buy himself some airtime that'll be really helpful going into Indiana. He can kind of distract media, take the focus off Trump, remind people that he exists, remind people that he's working really hard here, and it helps him.
We have the 3 monitors in studio, the 3 morning shows on the cables, and Carly Fiorina has been on every one of them this morning. Now, I haven't seen Donald Trump talking about his foreign policy speech, but Donald Trump was on each of those shows yesterday, the morning after the primaries. He probably would have been back today talking foreign policy, but instead it was all Carly Fiorina.
And what's interesting is that there's a historical precedent for this. There's only one other time in American history when someone who was not a presumptive presidential nominee or presidential nominee has picked a vice president. That was Reagan in 1976. Craig Shirley, who's a Reagan biographer, told me that the reason Reagan picked chose a vice presidential nominee was because CBS was on the verge of breaking a story where they interviewed all the convention delegates, and they were going to prove pretty conclusively that Gerald Ford would win on the first round of balloting at the Republican National Convention. So Reagan said, what can I do to get CBS not to run this story? What can I do to change the narrative? What he did was announce his vice presidential pick, and it worked. CBS did not run that story. Reagan's campaign got a little boost of energy. They stayed in for the next 3 weeks until the convention. Of course, Reagan lost at the convention, which might bode poorly for Cruz. but it does show that this particular kind of tactic is tested, and it can work a tiny little bit. So we'll see.
Yeah, and will it work in Indiana? Betsy Woodruff is again from Daily Beast. Lots going on here. 866-55-PRESS is your ticket to join us with your questions, your comments. And what do you think about the new Dream Ticket? Ted Cruz and Carly Fiorina. We'll be right back.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you, the last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue. Dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
All right, 12 minutes before the top of the hour. On the morning after Ted Cruz makes a big announcement, he's going to bring Carly Fiorina along for the ride, and she says she's going to stand by her man all the way to defeat Donald Trump and then defeat Hillary Clinton. And, of course, she has a special job. Betsy Woodruff here with us from Daily Beast. She's got a special job we learned yesterday on the campaign bus, right?
Right.
Which is to...
Senior babysitter.
2 girls that I just adore. I'm so happy I can see them more. 'Cause we travel on the bus all day. We get to play. We get to play. I won't bore you.
Didn't she also have a song about her dogs?
Yes, she did.
The dogs
Which,
or
like,
the cats?
I'm sorry,
I forget.
it was dogs. I'm like, I'm
Dogs.
sorry, you're not a human being if you did not 100% relate to Carly Fiorina singing to her dogs. If you've never had the experience of singing to a dog, you need to go find a dog and sing to it right now because it's really good and normal and healthy and there's nothing weird about it.
Oh,
and I'm sorry. This is true. I'm seeing a lot of skepticism here.
I'm a little skeptical.
Yes.
Weebay would really appreciate
I love
some
my
singing.
dog. I'm a big dog guy. I don't know that I've ever serenaded him.
Well, give it a shot.
Maybe I will.
Don't knock it till you try it.
I don't have a dog now, but we've had dogs. But I have never sung to one of our dogs. No.
It's not too late.
And we sort of have a cat now, and I've never sung to
You
the
don't sing
cat.
to the
either.
cat?
Mm-mm. Is that all right to sing
These
to cats
poor
too?
creatures, these poor animals, robbed of the dulcet tones
See?
of Bill Press's vocal
And
stylings.
you thought Carly Fiorina was, you were making fun of her. Betsy is
get
here
outta
defending
here.
her, right?
Get outta here.
Let's say a quick
Heartless.
hello to Anita from San Antonio. Hi, Anita.
Hey, good morning.
What do you think?
Yeah. I didn't think Ted Cruz could be any more repulsive than he did Carly Fiorina. Those two together are probably the most repulsive people in the United States. He is so tone deaf to bring her on.
When Barbara Boxer shares your view, she called them mean and meaner, I think. Is that right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, she went on a real tear yesterday because she ran against Fiorina in 2010 in the California Senate race. I think she said, "I hope Fiorina's current merger goes as well as her last merger." Of course.
You need to use the words tone deaf, which I think is something we haven't really talked about, like the actual political value of having someone like Carly Fiorina on the ticket, which I don't think is very much. No one's calling for Carly Fiorina to get back in the race. You know what I mean? No one's calling for Carly Fiorina to be senator from California. You know, like she's had that shot and she was rejected.
Neither one has a reputation of being a nice person. Hey, Anita, thanks. It's always good to hear from you. Of a pleasant person or a person that's fun to be around with. In fact, I think they both have the reputation of being pretty nasty.
Complicated human beings.
I mean, look at Ted Cruz. He's clearly the most hated man in Washington.
And what strikes me, too, is that even Cruz surrogates say not very nice things about him. I mean, Glenn Beck in Iowa, I remember the day before Cruz went on to win the Iowa caucuses, Glenn Beck was saying, "You think Cruz sounds weird when he's talking to you, giving these campaign speeches. He's just as weird in person. Like, you're hanging out watching football and he talks about the Constitution." And I'm like, dude, you're boring. I remember listening to him saying that and be like, oh my goodness, this is the worst surrogate ever.
Yeah.
It's really something else.
And Carly may be one of the most unpopular people in California. I mean, that Senate race had a big impact, and her performance at Hewlett-Packard, which was a disaster, 30,000 people fired, the stock plummeted. She was chased out of the company, run out of the company because she did a poor job as CEO. And remember, during the campaign, she would always say, "These were difficult times, and I had to make some difficult decisions," basically.
Pretty much, yeah. Which is not a great talking point. I think as far as talking points go, it's right up there with Walker saying Wisconsin is 4th in the Midwest. Great work. That's a pretty cool factoid.
Yeah, they're proud of it. And we're going to make America 4th in the world, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay. So, Betsy, this is the prom weekend in Washington, D.C., the White House Correspondents' Dinner. You got your party dress ready?
I'm kind of going to wing it, I'll figure it out. I'm excited. I wasn't in town last weekend for White House Correspondents' Dinner, so or last year. So we'll see how it goes.
But it is insane the way and the first party was last night, by the way.
Was it?
Yeah, for the White House Correspondents Association.
Darn, I missed it.
No.
I can't believe your invite must have gotten lost in the mail.
Must have.
No. We decided there's so many parties around the dinner that members of the reporters who cover the White House are never invited to.
Yeah.
That last night was a party just for the reporters who cover the White House.
Nice.
The White
that's
House,
so cute.
The White House Correspondents Association is saying, Damn it, it's our weekend, and it used to be our dinner, but the dinner's been taken over now by celebrities and
advertisers.
Yeah. So many of the networks and the news outlets who get buy the tables and get the tickets, who they give the tickets to? Not their reporters, not the people who do all the work, but the people who buy time on the stations. Yeah.
So it goes.
I know, and we bitch about it every year, and
It's
then
always
we
a good
come back.
conversation.
Wheel in the sky keeps on turning.
Screw those people paying our paychecks.
That's right. Yeah, right.
All right, Betsy. Thanks so much for coming in. We will look for you around the weekend at the parties on the party circuit.
Sounds good. Catch
All
you
right.
on the flip side.
Be right back.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 2 hours is never enough. There's always so much to talk about. So we'll go into hour number 3 coming up next, which you can follow right away on our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV, or if you want to wait around for Free Speech TV, that's you'll catch us at 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 Central, 2 Pacific. Emma Roller from the New York Times joins us at the top of the next hour, and then we'll be joined by Adam Wallner from the National Journal. Big hour number 3 coming up. Stay around on TawkrTV or on Free Speech TV.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Next.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go. At the top of the next hour, we're going to be visited with Emma Roller, who's an op-ed writer for the New York Times, and we'll be joined then a little bit later. She'll be here for the entire hour as a friend of Bill. We'll be joined by Adam Wallner from the National Journal. President Obama, he has got no public meetings today at the White House. He gets a daily briefing. Then I think what he's going to be doing is working on his comedy routine for Saturday night for the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
That's right.
And because he's always very, very good at it.
And this has got to be a good one. It's his last one.
Last one. He's going to hit it out of the park. He and the First Lady host a Seder dinner at the White House tonight at 7 o'clock. And our regular briefing with Press Secretary Josh Earnest at 1 o'clock. We'll be back for our next hour, hour number 3. So
is the
stay
Bill
around.
Press Show.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Next.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation of supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
you wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. My whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
He shut down the government. She shut down Hewlett-Packard. What a great team. Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? Here we go. It's a Thursday, April 28th. This is the Bill Press Show, and we are coming to you live from Washington, D.C., and our studio in Capitol Hill, just down the street from the United States Capitol building, where we've got our eye on what's happening at the Capitol, what's happening around the country, and what's happening around the globe. We'll tell you all about it. You tell us what it means to you. As we continue here for the Thursday Town Hall, the Bill Press Show, on your local progressive talk radio station and on Free Speech TV. Good to have you listening on the radio. Good to have you watching on television. Thanks so much for joining us on this very, very, very special day, which is Bring Your Child to Work Day. And yes, Peter Ogburn is celebrating the day in style.
Yes,
Peter,
indeed.
yes, indeed. You might introduce the 5 children you brought with you.
I brought my 2 boys in with
Peter
me.
brought only half of his family.
Yeah, right. The whole brood.
The car wasn't big enough for all 11.
That's about we
Yeah, right. We didn't bring the dog. This is Gray Ogburn, who came in
Hello,
today.
Gray.
He's in 5th grade. Mm-hmm. And this is your 3rd year coming in for Take Your Child to Work Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this is Magnus Ogburn, who is in the 2nd grade.
All right.
Who is in here for his 2nd year. So we're putting to work. We've already had him do a couple things, and you were very nice to get them donuts this morning. Mm-hmm. So if they act crazy during this segment, now you know why. They're all jacked up on sugar.
I didn't get them donuts. I got
you got everybody.
I got me a donut.
Fair. That's fair.
The only way I could get one was to make sure we bought donuts. For,
Good point.
Yeah.
I got you at Jamie once.
Jamie had some donuts too. Yeah.
I had a donut.
He had 1 donut. He said.
Limiting myself this morning.
All right. So Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson, of course, are regular members of the team. We'll come back to you guys in just a sec. Ray Rogers here on the phones. Remember, she's ready for your calls at 866-55-PRESS. Cyprian Bolding, a videographer on the job as well, and a good friend of the program. She's the one who churns out all those op-eds on the New York Times. Emma Roller here in studio with us for the entire hour as a friend of Bill. Emma, welcome back.
Hi, good to be here, churning it out.
That's it, exactly. Okay, guys. So, what do you think about the radio business? Would you maybe like your dad, like to be Magnus, work on the radio someday?
Well, I would also have to wake up at 3:45. So
it's pretty early. Yeah, it was pretty early wake up.
That's not too cool, right? Is that no?
Well, you kind of have to do that with most jobs. Some jobs you don't.
You don't have to wake up that early for a lot of jobs.
What do you think? You like media? Do you like radio? You like TV? Gray?
It's one of my favorite subjects, so yeah, I might do it.
Yeah.
We watch a lot of politics in the house. Magnus is very big on politics.
Actually, no, I'm not. I just watch them because Mom's watching it.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
He was informing me about the Zika virus.
Really?
Earlier, yeah.
Because.
Wait, what do they think about Trump?
What do you think about Donald Trump?
What do you think about Donald Trump?
This is gonna be funny.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought Magnus.
What do you think about Donald Trump?
Yay, Gray. He's a racist old man.
Oh.
Okay.
With tiny hands.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
You've raised them well, Peter.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think my job here is done.
I think it is too. I'll tell you one thing though about Donald Trump. He knows how to pronounce the names of foreign countries. Because yesterday he gave his big foreign policy speech, and he even read it from the teleprompter, so he'd be sure not to make any mistakes or get the names of any countries wrong. And let's see how well he did.
Look at what happened in the 1990s. Our embassies in Kenya and Tanzania, and this was a horrible period of time for us, were attacked.
Yeah.
And 17 brave
All right.
sailors.
We got it. Yes. Let's welcome
Tanzania.
Welcome to Tanzania.
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 Oh, I want that to be my tag when I come on the show next time. Just Tanzania.
Tanzania.
There it is.
China.
All right. So we've got Emma Roller here with us for the first half hour, and then we're going to be joined. For the whole hour, as a friend of Bill, Adam Wallner from the National Journal steps in at the half. But first. Okay, guys.
This is the full court. All right, I think the three of us together can do this. Just a couple other stories making news. The Sacramento Kings of the NBA, the basketball team there, they have changed up their logo. They have a brand new logo, and they are celebrating in a very interesting way. They unveiled the logo earlier this week, and they are giving away free tattoos of the new logo to fans. It's a limited quantity, but if you're a real Sacramento Kings fan and you want to get a tattoo of the new logo, you can do it for free at participating tattoo parlors. So it depends on how.
It's a slick logo.
It is slick.
Fair,
I do like what they've done.
It's a throwback to the old Sacramento Royals.
I think of my favorite sports teams, and I like certain teams, but I'm not going to get a tattoo of any of my teams. It's just silly.
No, I'm glad I don't live in Sacramento anymore. I might be tempted.
Would you get your free tattoo? More problems for Venezuela. They have had all kinds of problems with blackouts, Zika, of course, and this one sounds like an interesting idea, but it's not coming from a very good place. The president announced that they are shortening the work week to only 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. Sounds okay to me, but they're doing it because they've got to save energy and electricity. They're having a very, very big problem with water levels in Venezuela because...
I don't care what the problem... You cannot run a country with 2 days a week. With everybody off for 5 days? I mean, the shutdown for 5 days is insane.
Their biggest source of electricity is the El Guri Dam, and it has record low water levels, so they're not getting much energy, so they're going to shut it down. I know. And the Supreme Court is currently hearing arguments with about Bob McDonnell and whether or not he was given the right sentence.
The Virginia
Supreme Court. Former Virginia. Yeah. No. The Supreme Court of the United States.
Really?
Yeah, Supreme Court of the United States is hearing this trial of Bob McDonnell. He's appealing on corruption charges, and he's being represented by a man named Noel Francisco, who made a very big mistake. If you're representing a client in front of the Supreme Court, one thing you definitely want to do is make sure that you get the name of the justice right.
Oh, no.
So he was speaking to Justice Ginsburg, and he said, quote, "There are a lot of other statutes that would prohibit precisely what you are suggesting, Justice O'Connor."
Oh, my God.
Justice Ginsburg immediately interrupted and said, quote, "That hasn't happened in quite some time. He immediately begged for forgiveness and apologized, said he was very sorry, but everybody laughed it off and moved on.
Yes.
Now that's a name I haven't heard in quite a long time.
That's right.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, you gotta
Well, at least
not mess
Sandra
that
Day
up.
O'Connor is still alive.
True.
You know, maybe that would have been worse, but pretty
bad.
embarrassing faux pas. Maybe not the least of Bob O'Connell's problems too.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Magnus. Thank you, Gray.
Good job,
Correct.
guys.
Okay.
Good job.
So, Emma, you were on the road for the, op-ed writer on the road, and for the New York Times out in Pennsylvania. What did you discover out there during the primary?
Yeah, so I went up to Reading, Pennsylvania last week when Bernie Sanders had a rally up there. And I actually I talked to a lot of people there. You know, it was after the New York loss, so, I thought maybe there would be less of a crowd, but there was a sizable crowd. I think it was like 2,600 people. There was a line around the block. So I talked to a lot of people there. And I drove directly from that to a Trump rally in Harrisburg.
Oh, my God.
Which is a good way to get sort of political whiplash, as I wrote about this week, because obviously they couldn't be farther apart on the political spectrum. But sort of similar themes started emerging when you talk to people, and just similar frustrations about Social Security, about campaign finance, obviously. Both Sanders and Trump fans like the fact that they are, not funded by super PACs, although, Trump is obviously a lot different because he has a lot of money to fund his own campaign with. And also with healthcare, but especially with trade, and especially in Pennsylvania, a state that had, a big manufacturing sector, especially in towns like Reading, and saw those sort of collapse both with the recession and also, as Sanders and Trump have both argued, with international trade agreements. So we're seeing trade. This whole election cycle has been more focused on trade than any other presidential campaign that I can think of in recent memory.
Well, you mentioned that the fact that you went to these two rallies in the same day. Tuesday night, the night of the primary, it was driving me crazy on CNN that the Trump people kept equating Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Kept put the two of them together. They could not be more different. Now, it is true they both talk about economic insecurity.
Right.
And they both have appealed to people who have lost their jobs or stagnant wages. The kids can't afford to send their kids to college. The 99% versus the 1%. But boy, they could not be more different in how they approach that. And as you say, for example, neither one of them has a super PAC, but Bernie Sanders has like 3-4 million individual donors around the country who are giving him $26 average donation. That's how he approaches that. Donald Trump is just either self-funded or getting all this free media, right? Or you take a look at just in terms of inclusionary politics. Bernie Sanders wants to welcome Latinos. Donald Trump wants to throw them all out of the country.
I
mean, again, their approaches or solutions are radically different.
Totally. And Bernie Sanders, his rally in Reading, he was introduced by a young woman who was an undocumented student who got really choked up talking about how she felt like she wanted to come out of the shadows. And it was a pretty moving speech, I thought. And then I drove directly to the Trump rally, and, he's just like, build that wall, and everyone's like, ah.
Yeah.
So I think there is some laziness among the punditry class of just being like, oh, Trump's an outsider, Sanders is an outsider. Let's, they're so similar. And I think it's more like it's a funhouse mirror of each other. Sanders and Trump, there's obviously like similar emotions, I guess, and motivations between why Democrats and independents support Bernie and, people support Trump, but that doesn't mean that they are similar at all.
So when you move that to, the difference, of course, Tuesday, Donald Trump basically established himself as the presumptive nominee, and Bernie got moved to the sidelines by Hillary, even though he did win Rhode Island. So now we move into Indiana, and Ted Cruz has basically staked out Indiana and said, John Kasich, staying away. I got Indiana. I got Trump all to myself in Indiana.
Right.
And yesterday, of course, he plays his ace. His ace is Cruz-Fiorina.
Yeah, that was an interesting move. I mean, I don't remember any time. I mean, Ronald Reagan named a vice presidential pick in 76.
76.
Yeah, before the contested convention with Ford, and obviously he did not win the nomination that year. So
Do you remember who he was?
Who was? I don't.
Richard Schweitzer.
Oh.
Who was a senator from...
We all know.
No. But it's funny. I've heard a lot of people this morning... don't take it personally. I've heard a lot of people this morning talking about it is true that Ronald Reagan did name a vice president, but I haven't heard anybody say the name.
Yeah.
Double check it.
I will. Okay.
I'm
Any
pretty sure it
relation
was
to Brian
Richard...
Schweitzer?
No.
Probably not.
No.
No.
He was a senator Republican senator from Pennsylvania.
Checking now.
Checking it. Check. So, double check me, but that's what I brought
yeah,
out.
obviously it's a response to what Trump said about the woman card, about Hillary Clinton, and all of Trump's rhetoric toward women, which is just abysmal for the GOP. 70% of all female voters have a negative opinion of Trump, which is just political suicide in a general election.
And he doesn't seem to help. He just makes it worse and worse by, making comments like if she were a man, she wouldn't get 5% of the vote.
Right. And I saw, I watched Cruz's speech yesterday. I thought it was honestly one of the best that I've seen him give. He was, he came off as very impassioned and talked a lot about his relationship with women and his wife and his daughters. And, say what you will about Cruz's politics, but he is definitely a lot less abhorrent personally, like on a personal level toward women than compared to Trump.
Now, Carly, who was very effusive yesterday, so she said she's going to stand by, right? She's going to stand by her man.
I am prepared to stand by his side and give this everything I have to restore the soul of our party, to defeat Donald Trump, to defeat Hillary Clinton, and to take our country back.
That's not what she always said about Ted Cruz. There were times when she was a little more critical, not so long ago.
But I would say that Ted Cruz is just like any other politician. He says one thing in Manhattan, he says another thing in Iowa, he says whatever he needs to say to get elected, and then he's going to do as he pleases.
Aha. How's that going to work out?
Ooh, that is really something when you put them up right against each other. I mean, this just shows why primaries get so messy, because you're forced to attack everyone else, and then if you don't do well, you have to try to latch onto someone else's coattails, and that's exactly what Cruz-Fiorina's had to do.
Yeah. And all you can say is, well, that was then, this is now.
That was then, this is now.
You can't deny it.
Well, just as Ted Cruz said, a few months ago, he had that tweet about how what the establishment wants is me and Donald Trump in a cage match. Too bad. Donald Trump is terrific.
Yeah. All right, here it is. 22 minutes now after the hour with Emma Rada from the New York Times. Back in just a second, and welcome your calls at 866-55-PRESS.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack.
Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
On opening body bags after Typhoon Haiyan. I can only imagine it like unearthing a scab. Zipper breaks open one by one. Mothers trying to dig through themselves an umbilical cord to lend life to a limp ghost. There is not enough relief here to hide the scent of what this child used to be. The coconut trees are not high enough to see over the inside out that was made here. Bags do not have the honor of being called burial plots. Churches ain't supposed to be mausoleums. Tacloban was morphed into ground zero. And I watch this while it snows in Madison, Wisconsin, a place where it's easier to live as a rodent than it is to be a colored person. This place drowns my people in a different way. I inhabit both places like Jigsaw Corpse, trying to find itself whole. These brown boys in Tacloban aren't my cousins, but I want to carry them to safety. These brown girls in Tacloban aren't my daughters, but I want to tell them they're still growing after this choking, but I'm still an ocean away, a language farther from root, a skin tone lighter than the sand, born there, raised here, home nowhere. To watch this storm is a sorry excuse for mourning. It is to need the sun desperately. It is to realize that your body is in one country while your grief is in another. To look at your house, walk to a river, and come back to no house is to be Filipino. To look at your motherland hurting from a TV screen is to be Filipino American. To watch my islands through the blue eyes of Anderson Cooper is the most American I have ever felt, but I still cry for them, and I still pray for them, because God tried to make them Atlantis before they were ready to be a myth just yet, because rebuilding is the Filipinos' most intrinsic muscle memory, but most painful trauma, because relief is just a word whose Tagalog translation I don't even know, because this poem is all I can give for my country, bleeding in salt water. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord keeps trying to drown us. Hallowed be thy bodies. Thy kingdom come down in waves and winds on earth as it is destroyed. Take us this day our daily rations, and forgive those who have tried to kill us as we forgive those who have tried to kill us. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us whose skin has always meant sin now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
This is the Bill Press Show.
27 minutes after the hour, I'm Marauder here with us from the New York Times on all things politics at this moment. And as you said, we would be talking about Donald Trump's big foreign policy speech. And of course, if it weren't for Ted Cruz and Cruz-Fiorina, we would be, because he said there was such substance to his speech yesterday, like when he talked about how he has the answer to dealing with ISIS.
But they're going to be gone. ISIS will be gone if I'm elected president, and they'll be gone quickly. They will be gone very, very quickly.
How? Did he go into that at all? Did he talk about how it's going to happen?
Peter, they're going to be gone.
But how are they going to be gone?
They're going to be gone.
Quickly.
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 Yeah, how are they going to be
Very
gone? Quickly, that's how.
I don't know about you, but I feel a lot better today knowing that we're not going to have to worry about ISIS
That's
anymore.
easy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just case closed.
Right. It's stunning to me, right, that somebody could be so vacuous, so totally empty, so totally unknowledgeable about foreign policy and be be considered a serious candidate for president.
Right, and people were hitting him on mispronouncing Tanzania, but it's sort of emblematic of his whole not really knowing.
This is the Bill Press Show.
single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook. Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go at 33 minutes after the hour on a Thursday, April 28th. The Bill Press Show. Emma Roller is here as a friend of Bill for the entire hour, op-ed writer for the New York Times. Her latest piece was Tuesday about her experience covering the primary in Pennsylvania, covering a Bernie Sanders rally and a Donald Trump rally in the same day. Quite a contrast.
Yes.
And in styles and solutions. And we're now joined by Adam Wallner from Roller Wall.
Yeah,
Roller
combination. That's right.
From the National Journal, who's also been covering the 2016 primaries for us. Good to have you back, Adam.
Great
Thank
to
you.
be here.
All right, now, there's a common thread here, I understand, which is Madison, Wisconsin, where we have a lot of good friends out there listening on 92.1 The Mic. You both graduated from Wisconsin?
That's right.
Sure did.
You were classmates?
Mm-hmm. And we both worked at the student paper there, or one of the two dailies.
The Superior student newspaper, the Daily Cardinal, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there are two?
There were two, yeah.
It's the only college with two daily student newspapers that are independent.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Is that big a campus or just I don't know, whatever?
Yeah, I mean, it is a big campus. I mean, there's like 40,000 students.
There's a rich history of competition between the two papers.
Yes.
And the one you work for is the
Daily Cardinal.
The Daily Cardinal.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So you went direct from the Daily Cardinal to the Bill Press Show.
That's right.
No. Yeah, that's right. No. But there are a few stops in between. National Journal.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
NPR.
Well, yes. So yeah, we both interned at NPR though at different times.
Yeah, different times.
How about
here.
that? Right.
Yeah. And then we were.
Then we were at National Journal at
together,
the
yeah.
same time, and then I left NJ for my new gig.
Okay, and now
And now we're here.
Right now you're here.
Yes.
But
reunion on the Bill Press
so when you were in Wisconsin, you were in Madison, and you're working toward a career in journalism. Did you set your sights on Washington, or did you just kind of both end up here?
Well, I guess I kind of did because I knew I wanted to do political reporting. And I'm able to do a lot of that in Madison, obviously, with the state capitol there.
Right.
And when I had first started, that was right after Scott Walker got elected, and there was all of the fight over collective bargaining and the recalls and all that fun stuff. So there's always like, it was like a very
that was a yeasty time in
that's right. So
it was a crazy time to be on the ground, and for you, you were a state reporter at the time, like reporting at the Capitol. I was editor-in-chief of the paper. Being on the ground there when all of the chaos was happening and all of the occupation of the Capitol, it was amazing. But I also sort of blacked out that entire time because it was a lot.
Yeah, it was crazy.
All right, so here's a big deal. Again, we are proudly carried on 92.1 The Mic in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm going to be out there next week on May 6th. We're going to have a big town hall. John Nichols from The Nation magazine is going to be there. We're going to be at the North Side Restaurant, whether you know that, in the Northgate Shopping Mall from 7 to 9 a.m. on Friday morning, May 6th. And John Nichols and I will be talking politics, talking 2016, talking my new book, The Buyer's Remorse, How President Obama Let Progressives Down. My question is, I'm in Madison. Where should I go?
Oh, man.
What are the hot bars or hot restaurants?
Right.
Or,
yeah. It's like, how do I narrow the list down just to one day?
Well, like, what,
I'm not. Do you really want to go out on campus, though, is the question, because it can get kind of, I mean, even I didn't really like going out, like, on.
You don't think I can handle it?
I think you can handle it, for sure.
I'm going to take Jamie with me, and I'll have a bouncer.
I don't know if I can serve that role.
All right. Well, if not on
Yeah, well, you definitely got to go to the Old Fashioned, which is on Capitol Square.
Oh, okay.
Get some fried cheese curds. And depending on the time of day, you can actually get an Old Fashioned cocktail.
With brandy.
Right, obviously, brandy Old Fashioned. That's the only way they're really made in Wisconsin. So that's.
I'm making some notes.
Yes.
Fried.
Have you ever had fried cheese curds before?
No.
It's not delicious. By the way.
Then
it
that
is
needs
a
to
local
be
delicacy.
that needs to be number one on your list when you're there.
It just doesn't. The name doesn't appeal to me.
The farmers market may have started up by the time you're there. That's on the Capitol Square. It's on Saturday mornings. It's wonderful. There's just a bunch of stands set up around the state
That sounds
capitol.
too healthy.
No, there's
actually there's plenty of
unhealthy options wherever you go.
Oh, okay, all right. And the old fashioned with brandy and the fried. Have you ever had fried cheese curds?
No, but I love cheese curds. I love poutine. You had poutine before? It's a Canadian thing, so, it's more of a Ted Cruz thing.
I'm definitely not having it. All right, I'll try it out.
Yes.
I'll check it out. So we get there. So you've been writing about Indiana, Adam.
Yes.
That Indiana ain't no Wisconsin.
It's not. It isn't Wisconsin, and I think.
So what do you expect to happen there?
Well, I think Trump probably is the slight favorite heading in. We still haven't really seen. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of polling period in Indiana, but we also haven't seen anything since this whole Cruz-Kasich pact was announced, and then obviously the Cruz announcing Fiorina as his running mate yesterday. So a lot has changed over the past week when there were some polls showing Trump ahead. I think it will be pretty close, but I think most people at this point would consider Trump the favorite.
Right. And even though, as you point out, there is this pact, which some people call a suicide pact, between Kasich and Ted Cruz. So Kasich is staying out, and Ted Cruz, that's his stand. He's made his stand in Indiana. That's where he's going to stop Donald Trump. Is he?
Yeah, it really is, I think, at this point, shaping up to be a make or break state for Ted Cruz. But the problem is, one of the reasons that Indiana isn't looking as quite as favorable as a state like Wisconsin, which was kind of the last big state for the Never Trump movement, was that people really aren't, kind of the anti-Trump Republicans aren't coalescing around Cruz the way they did in Wisconsin. That final week in the primary, he got endorsements from Scott Walker, a lot of top members of the state legislature, and then of course there was all the conservative talk radio hosts were anti-Trump for months. Then they all got behind Cruz, but there isn't that same kind of unity happening in Indiana, and there seems to be a little more ambivalence about Trump there as well. People just aren't, even if they're not crazy about him, they aren't willing to do whatever it takes to stop him like they did in Wisconsin.
Emma, is that because they sort of are reluctantly accepting reality and looking at the numbers and saying, looks like we're stuck with him, so we might as well make the most of it?
That's a big question. I don't want to cast too many, wide swaths, but I think there is something to be said about maybe a sense of disappointment, definitely at the choices that are on the table. I was reading a New York Times story from today about voters in Indiana, and one who wanted to vote for Kasich but now doesn't know what to do because there's the pact between Kasich and Cruz. But this voter didn't really want to vote for Cruz either. So it seems like there's maybe a sense of disappointment definitely at the options.
But our party leaders...
This podcast contains explicit language.
Whoa.
Sorry about that.
Where that came from? Voices. Are party leaders accepting the reality that they're just going to have to sort of hunker down and get behind this guy? What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, Indiana's a great example where, someone like Mike Pence, who, certainly probably doesn't align with Donald Trump on a lot of things, but he's totally stayed on the sidelines. And, he's met with all three candidates, but he doesn't look like he's going to be making an endorsement. You have the former governor there, Mitch Daniels. If anything, he'd probably be more of a John Kasich guy, but we also haven't heard from him in a while. So at this point, they're, either they are just beginning to accept that, Trump's probably going to be the nominee, and they just need to think about what's best for their own careers. Mike Pence is on the ballot in this fall, so he might have to deal with Trump at the top of the ticket, and he doesn't want to risk, alienating any of Trump's supporters when he's going to need them to turn out for him as well. And that's, I think, a lot of Republicans are going to have to start making that calculation, especially if they're up for re-election or running on the ballot in November.
Well, if you think about, and I had attended a little luncheon yesterday with Senator John Tester from Montana, who is head of the Democratic Senate Campaign Committee, looking at Senate races around the country. So if you got these Republicans who are up for re-election, and there are 35 seats, I believe, up this year, 35, 36, of which 25 are Republican seats and 10 are Democratic. So the map does not favor the Republicans this time. If they're on the ballot for re-election and Donald Trump is their nominee, what do they do?
Right. Well, that's the whole question, is what repercussions a Trump nomination will have down the ballot. Will it have an effect? Will it turn the Senate? I think the chances are pretty likely that the Senate does turn back to the Democrats if Trump's the nominee. The House is a lot bigger question mark. And because of districts the way they are and other factors, I really think the House will stay Republican.
Right. It would take a pretty giant wave to flip to the Democrats this time around. But they certainly can make a pretty good dent into that. And then, as you mentioned, on the Senate side, it was already a pretty unfavorable map for Republicans. When you're defending seats in Wisconsin,
you're in Pennsylvania. So if it's you're a Pat Toomey in Pennsylvania, you're a Rob Portman in Ohio, right? I'm blanking on the name of Russ Feingold is running against
Ron Johnson.
Ron Johnson, right, in Wisconsin. Are you going to embrace Trump or just sort of kind of stay away from him and run your own campaign and hope that people won't hold Trump against you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
it's a tough decision.
It is. I think they're going to try and make those campaigns as local as possible and try and make it as much about the individual Senate candidates as they can. But that's going to be really tough to do, with a presidential election occurring at the same time and someone like Donald Trump.
And it's going to be so easy for any Democratic group to just tie that person to Trump.
Absolutely.
Every time Donald Trump says something, they're going to go to Ron Johnson and say, all right, do you agree with this?
Right.
If it turns out to be a Donald Trump, I think when Donald Trump moves into their state, you won't necessarily see all these Senate candidates standing up on the stage alongside of him. I think it's a photo they probably don't want. Here with, what do you call people who go to...
Cheeseheads. There you go.
Cheeseheads. Yeah.
Badgers.
We're here with the two cheeseheads, Adam Lawner and Emma Roller, on the Bill Press Show. Join the conversation, whether you're from Wisconsin or not. You're welcome at 866-55-PRESS.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489,856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors, shift, 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 shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
12 minutes before the top of the hour. Here we go. We have to hear it one more time. We're here with Emma Roller from the New York Times and Adam Lawner from the National Journal. You alluded to the fact that the entire game has changed, not just in Indiana, but the entire country yesterday, because Cruz-Fiorina comes back from retirement as a candidate to be Ted Cruz's running mate. And she wowed everybody by reminding us once again of her singing skills.
I know two girls that I just adore. I'm so happy I can see them more. 'Cause we travel on the bus all day, we get to play. We get to play. I won't bore you with any more of the song.
Yes, she spared us the rest of the song. The Drudge headline this morning, if you saw, says, "It ain't over until the skinny lady sings." Ooh. But
Bring American Idol back.
Yeah.
And this isn't even like right on the list of like strange things that have happened this campaign either. Cruz-Fiorina singing.
Not even the top 10
right.
list.
You don't think? No. Right.
I don't think so. Yeah. But maybe on yesterday's list. But
all right. But I'll tell you one of the things that would be, I think, in the top 10 of the strange things that have happened in this campaign, which is Bernie Sanders' attraction to millennials. Now, are you guys millennials?
I guess technically so, yeah.
All right. So what's it all about? Well, I mean, seriously, okay, we're different generation. I don't know whether you noticed that. But my first campaign was Eugene McCarthy for president in 1968. I have not seen any campaign attract young people, and I was one of those clean for Gene kids, who got into politics thanks to Eugene McCarthy, and is still there. There are kids today, maybe even younger than you, right?
Yeah.
Who had no interest in politics, but were turned on by Bernie Sanders, and that will be the marking influence for their entire life. Why? What's it all about? How do you read it?
Well, I think it's partially
what's his appeal?
Partially they're drawn to kind of his idealism and just like his and that sort of a message. But I also think Hillary Clinton, she's obviously someone who's been around for a very long time and is viewed as being sure, but she's been more in the spotlight and more part of that entrenched establishment that I think a lot of younger voters are kind of wary of.
Yeah.
So I think it's as much of Bernie Sanders' message is a new one, and it's one that appeals to them, but I think they also are kind of sick of the way politics is usually conducted, and Hillary Clinton kind of epitomizes a lot of that.
Yeah, the thing that I take away from it is, like Adam said, there's the idealism, which obviously young people have been voting for idealistic candidates since they've been around.
God bless them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But there's also the consistency factor, which I've heard a lot, that he really has been saying the same things for the past 30 years since he was elected to Congress. And it seems like rather than him sort of trying to catch up with where the movement is at any point in time, it's more that the movement has caught up with him, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. He's been giving the same. He's been giving the same some speech all campaign, but it's also one that he was giving years before anybody.
All right.
was really
So now
paying
the
attention to
question is, having started this sort of the political revolution, which he really has, and attracted so many followers, and it looks like he's pretty clear he's not going to be the nominee. What happens to that movement? Does the movement die, or is there a way to keep it going? And which also raises the question about, what does he want from Hillary Clinton right now?
Well, I think that's definitely the hope, and this is sort of getting away from the presidential aspect, but it's so important for the Democratic Party to have young candidates right now. We are seeing, the Republicans have just are dominating at the state level in state legislatures, in governorships, obviously in Congress. And the way the Democratic Party can solve that is by getting millennials to run for Congress. And I've read, so many think pieces over the past couple of years, like, oh, how are we going to get millennials to run? And, there's all these sort of superficial, like third way type millennial, workshopping groups. And it's just like, that's not how you really motivate people to run for office, in my mind. Whereas you see Bernie Sanders and his supporters, and they are genuinely fired up about campaign finance, about Wall Street regulation, about all these issues. And the hope is, I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but the hope is that they will be inspired to run because of him.
and keep the movement going, right?
That's right. Yeah, I think there'll be a big challenge. I mean, especially in the short term for Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party to try to get those young people who have turned out in droves for Bernie Sanders to support her in a general election. But also, there's also this fundraising base that Bernie Sanders has.
Totally. Yeah.
Of all these small donors who have given over and over to his campaign, and these are these are his donors, these aren't just donors that he kind of plucked from the usual pool.
So the candidate may be sidelined, but the movement and the cause lives on. Yes, indeed. Hey, Emma, great to see you. Thanks for coming in
Thanks
today.
for having me.
Adam, always welcome back.
Always a pleasure.
All right, you cheeseheads got a home here anymore. And I'll see you in Madison on May 6th. Back with a parting shot quickly.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you. The last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue, dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, let's say you're Ted Cruz and you get your clock cleaned in 5 key primaries. You perform so badly, you lose any chance you could win the nomination. So what do? You change the subject, which is exactly what Ted Cruz did, as we've been talking about this morning, or tried to do yesterday, scheduling that last-minute news conference to announce his running mate. And however, Cruz chose worst possible choice. The only person on the planet who is even less popular than he is and maybe more destructive. Yep, if you want to know what Cruz-Fiorina would do to America, given the chance, Look at all the damage she did to a once great company, Hewlett-Packard. Ted Cruz was crazy to offer her that position, and Cruz-Fiorina was even more crazy to take it. That's it for today, folks. Jimmy Williams in tomorrow as a friend of Bill.
This is the Bill Press Show.
See you then.